Hello everyone, I'm Plasma Warriors, and you like to call me that guy the Afro. Well, at this time tomorrow, I'll be somewhere in southern Louisiana on my way to Atlanta, Georgia for Dragon Con. That'll be this Labor Day weekend. But I can get over that special for you right now. I've pretty much wrapped up all I needed to wrap up in terms of getting ready. But I know a lot of people who might be watching this video already wondering, but I haven't even started! Uh-oh. So, I put together a list really quickly of 5 things you should and shouldn't do on your way to a convention within the last 24 hours. These are the moments where the 24 hours before you get to a con matter a little bit more. Now, let me explain something. I'm not talking about last-minute rushing for your cosplay. I'm not talking about where you're going to meet your friends on Saturday. I'm talking the 24 hours between now and the time you leave. Some of these might be common knowledge. Some of these might not be so well known. But all of these really echo into one factor. You've got one day to do what you need to do. So while thinking about this, I do want to make this point very clear, though. This is a partial list. This is what I personally find. I'm going to tell you right now, don't religiously follow this, but really keep this in mind when you do it. So I'm going to start with the don'ts, because the do's are easier said than done. The first don't you have to know is don't be in a rush at all. Don't be somebody who's just panicking last second. Oh, I'm going to this convention in New York City and I'm all the way in Philadelphia. Don't worry about that part. Just worry about what you can put into your suitcase right now. Don't worry about, hey, I've got to bring this and this and this and this. Oh my gosh, I've got a Switch. I got a PS4. I've got to get my DS. I'm running out of time. Don't be that person. Just pack what you're going to need for the convention. That should be the easiest part. And then what's left over that you can bring, go ahead and bring. No one's going to argue if you all of a sudden have this big, gigantic room of a 25,000-inch plasma screen TV, though that would be amazing. But if you can't bring it, don't really panic about it. Don't really panic about, I got to bring everything over. Don't worry about what time you're going to get there. Trust me, there's plenty of con to go on if you're not there at 12 o'clock on Friday. Don't worry about it. Don't panic. Don't be in such a rush to get to that special event that happens Saturday evening on Thursday afternoon. Don't be that person who has to get in everyone's way just so you can enjoy it. Don't be nerve-wracking. Like I was on the picture. Don't be like that. Second don't is don't tell everybody what you're going to do at the convention. Yes, you should have your cosplay lineup. That's perfectly fine. But you don't need to explain the details. Oh, I'm going to have this big giant party and you're all invited. Don't be that person typing out everything on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Don't do that. You're going to have that happen at the convention. Everyone will be able to find you if you're going to put it out. And go ahead and put that out when you get to the convention area. Not the day before, not a little bit beforehand. Maybe a week or two is a big maximum. By that point, you should have your idea of what you're going to do when you get there. But don't make it so that everybody has to hear it. Right now, you need to focus on getting your stuff together, putting things out there when you can, and getting to the convention. Make sure that when you type something, it's relevant to what you're going to be doing on the way there. Because you never know what might happen. Tell people specifically, hey, I'm here, I'm traveling this way, I'm going to be at this point. If you want to see that kind of thing happen, absolutely. Make sure they know what you're doing. That I can understand on the way to, not at. Because you'll be able to tell people what you're doing at the convention probably a day ahead of time. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to be doing at a convention. Normally it's like, go with the flow. Third don't. I see this very often. Don't be one of those people at all, online either, trolling at this point about how, oh no, I'm running out of time. And that causes a mass effect. Don't go like, hey, I don't pack this into my suitcase all of a sudden. Just don't worry about that. Take care of what you got to do. They're going to take care of what they're going to do. You can, however, give advice like, hey, at the last second, don't forget to bring your car keys to this, or make sure you have them right here in your pockets. Don't forget to lock the doors before you go out. We'll get to that point in a moment. But generally speaking, other than common sense, if you're trolling somebody online and you're the one having to rush in that last few minutes before you gas the car up and go, that's a problem. Limit your time online. I'm not saying do everything last second. I'm saying limit what you got online, but tell people what you're doing. More so, don't make a mass panic on people. Don't try to harass the Lolitas saying, ha, you're going to have to get a special dress. I'm sure the anxiety is getting to you about finishing. Leave that alone. Fourth, don't. Don't tell everybody, I mean this, every little secret about what you did at the last con or this con. What are you going to do with that? We already know that. But what I mean by this is don't advertise yourself. And that's a little bit different from telling everybody what you're going to do. You're going to have plenty of time to show off what you're going to be wearing and your cosplay lineup. What I mean by that is don't go and say, hey, I have this gigantic business opportunity for you. Here's my card. You're going to hand out more cards at a convention than you will usually get a Facebook post. Trust me, it's not typically easy to get 500 people to notice you on a Facebook post normally. Sometimes you'll get like 20 or 30 likes at the day before. It's just not viable. What you need to do is have the stuff ready if you're going to go to a business and hand it out at the convention. It's much easier if you do that way than it is to Facebook posts. Right now, you need to set yourself up for that moment. So don't waste time advertising. You'll have plenty of time to do it at the con. Number 5, and this is one that really gets me. Don't forget to plan for any disastrous things. I'm not talking, oh my gosh, hurricane, flood, tornado. You'll probably know that's not likely if you already are on the way to the convention anyhow. Very unlikely that that's going to happen. Typically, it doesn't. But if something were to go, okay, now I lost maybe a few bucks here. Maybe you should go ahead and think, okay, that's fine. I've got this. I can still make it home. Always plan a little bit extra. Plan for something to happen. Don't be bare minimum, in other words. Don't be that person who's like, I'm only getting this much to get by, and then I'll figure it out on the way. When you plan for a convention, always be able to have a backup plan in case something goes wrong. Pack an extra set of clothes, for instance, like I did. Basically, make sure that if something were to go wrong, and you put that into thought process. Also, when you do that, don't make it to where everything's going to be a disaster. Like, oh my gosh, raindrops. Oh no, hurricane coming in. Don't be that guy. Typically, you'll see what's going on well beforehand. And if there is something that happens all of a sudden, it's not usually that big of a deal to you unless the whole hotel burns down. Then, that's a huge problem for everybody. That typically doesn't happen. I mean, I've never had a convention where there's been a small fire in a hotel, let alone a massive one. So you should be okay. Now for the do's. In the 24 hours that you have, do a few things. Number 1, make sure you have money when you need it. Like I said, for the possibility of something that happened go wrong, have some cash on hand. Pull out an extra $20 or $30. Make sure you have that money at the very minimum to make some moves in town. You might have to be out an extra day. I've had to do that once for an outside convention. So if you ever really think about it, you don't have to pull out thousands of dollars. I'm just saying whatever emergency money you can for like 2 days worth of food. That shouldn't be a big deal. Or maybe you need some extra money to get to the hotel from wherever you're going to be partying at. That's a possibility. That could happen. You might want to consider leaving a better tip for the staff that you're going to, whether it be a bar or hotel. Make sure you have some cash on hand no matter what happens, because you never know when you're going to need it. Second thing, when you get there, get to your hotel, have your stuff in a place, set it there, make sure it's all there at that point. But also, when you're packing, we call this idiot check. Everything that you should have at the very last moment should happen during these 24 hours. Make sure whatever you have in that bag or in your pouch or whatever is ready to go. Collect it. Have it in wherever you're going to travel with, by car or bus, maybe beforehand. Just make sure whatever you're going to use for transportation, it's ready to go. It's gassed up. It has the materials you need. If you're going by plane or other means, make sure you get to that spot with plenty of time to spare, maybe an hour or two after whatever you need to do. Typically, that's a good time. And sometimes there are delays, so expect that along the way. Might be some delays here and there. Keep that in mind. But at the very least, have your stuff ready, have your plan in place to get where you're going, and then head off. So third thing is that I know some of you are going to be one of those people, like, I've got a lot of cosplay about. Third thing, though, make sure whatever you're using that you're not using when you're leaving, like your air conditioner, your computer, your unnecessary other stuff like the radio, TV, make sure all that is unplugged or turned off. Make sure it's just gone off the grid. Mostly because you don't want to use that for power sources. You want to save electricity for the long haul. If you have one of those smart ACs, set the timer for whenever you're going to get back by about an hour or so or something like that. But you get the general idea. Make sure it's all turned off. Make sure everybody understands this is off in your house. Keep it off. Don't worry about it. Just make sure it's all powered down. Make sure also, if it's essential, number 4, like pets, plants, other kinds of things, living creatures you can't take care of. Make sure at this point they are in the position to where they're taken care of. My dad once said many times, make sure you take care of your pets because they can't take care of themselves. And they're absolutely right. Make sure whenever that happens in the last 24 hours, they're well fed, they have the ability to get in water. Keep in mind, sometimes you're in an area like I am in San Antonio, Texas, where it's extremely hot. So have a plan for water in a cool place. Make sure they're able to be taken care of when and where they need to be. And also, if you have people who depend on you, make sure they're also taken care of. Family that can't get around, elderly grandparents, stuff like that. Make sure they are well taken care of. If you have to get a house sitter and have them sit in for them, take care of that as well. Make sure you lock the doors also. That's another thing. But make sure in general, everybody and everything that depend on you are taken care of. Number 4, what you really need to remember is that, yes, you want to bring some special stuff. Make sure whatever you're going to get signed or whatever you have is with you in a special place outside the regular bags. Like a carry-on, you have that, but you want to keep this special thing with yours. Nobody else can touch it. Make sure it's actually with you at all times, especially if it costs you money. Make sure it's in like your own backpack or another piece of gear when you're there. And then once everything else is packed, put that in with the rest of your stuff. Don't think last second, oh, this voice actor's there. I'm going to go ahead and get my special Naruto thingamajigger signed again. Just make sure it's there, but make sure it's not with the rest of your stuff because you're bringing that for the special guests there. Don't put it with your dirty laundry. I've had that happen before. Not a very fun thing. And I've also did this, stupid me. Make sure whatever you're getting is well protected. Sorry, Jeffrey. Yeah, make sure everything of that nature is separate from what you're going to be using for the convention. Number 5 thing, and the most important thing I can tell you is, whatever you do, once you get through all this, once you have your plan in place, once you've packed, once you make sure idiot check is there, make sure anything that you have to secure in your house is secure. At this point, you've turned off everything. Everyone knows you're going to do something. Fair enough. Lock the doors. Shut off everything. Password protect some of your stuff if you have to. And that's another thing. If somebody does, God forbid, steal it, make sure your insurance is up to date. If something happens like a natural disaster, make sure that's taken care of. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. That's the risk we run by leaving. I have roommates here in this house, so they're going to be pretty much on top of what's going on. I'm not too really worried about that, but generally speaking, make sure nobody can really get into your place, your house, your apartment. Make sure the keys are well hidden if you have to hide them. Make sure they're not in with anybody else that you don't trust. And most important of all, whatever you've got to lock down, keep secure, put it in a separate spot from where you usually do and more hidden than it usually is. A little bit of a detractor there. But I also want to say this in closing. Conventions are fun. They're great. I know these grindy few last hours are big, but they set up for a great weekend. Again, this was a partial list. I'm sure I can come up with 50 things on both sides to do and don't. Honorable mention on the don'ts. Don't try to bring drama to a con earlier than it at all. Please don't tell me about your ex-girlfriend's going to be there. I don't care. And on the do's, when that ex-girlfriend does come by, just ignore them. Don't feed the trolls. Just let them go. Anyway, point is, I know you're in a rush. I know you're busy. And these last few hours are vital for what you're going to do at a convention. Now, that being said, because I'm going to Dragon Con this weekend, that will be Thursday, August 29th, to Monday, September 2nd, I have got to get going now. I'm so sorry, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe to this video, and I will see you when I get to Dragon Con. Video is coming on Dragon Con like I did last year. I can't do a live video because YouTube upped the channel requirements for subscriptions. But still, you'll get a video like you did at Comic Palooza. Later.